Hey, what's up guys, it's Jake. I recorded this thing you're about to see on July 12th. I decided not to post it because this channel is supposed to be mostly about music or, life events that I can relate to music in some way. Definitely not trying to make a channel that's based on controversy and politics and all that kind of stuff. In light of all the stuff that's happened in Charlottesville lately and all the sort of racial tension and things that are happening, I just thought I'd throw this video up and basically it's amazing to me how much ignorance is still out in the world. I hate that it's happening. I'm raising kids in that environment. I have a lot of friends who are raising kids in this environment. What I really want is for everyone to just be positive, be the best person you can be. Hopefully everything will get better. I know it's going to take time. I know there's a lot of hurting. There's a lot of healing that needs to happen, but I do think eventually, hopefully in my lifetime, things will get better. With every generation that comes along, I feel like there's more good than bad in this regard. Hopefully, knowledge will prevail and ignorance will die. On the one hand, I understand that this incident that just occurred was mostly younger people on both sides. But I think one thing is hugely different now than it would have been 20, 30, 40 years ago. And that is that when a bunch of very vocal, hate-filled people gathered together to tear down entire groups of people, in the past, those voices would have gone unchallenged. A lot of people would have been content to just stay at home, stay quiet, maintain the status quo, maybe shake their head, but not get involved, not be vocal. I'm proud of a lot of the people who weren't going to just allow that sort of thing to happen unopposed. I'm not happy that there were violent people on either side. I wish that things could have been peaceful on both sides, but I'm at least glad that there was some opposition to such ignorance and hatred. The worst of mankind showed their faces and people showed up in opposition to that. I feel like that's at least a sign that people are less likely to stand for this sort of thing now than they would have in the past. That's a small silver lining to find in a situation like this, but you have to find those silver linings somewhere, and I think the future is brighter than the past. All my life I've been hearing about how things were better in the past and how the younger people are ruining everything, or they're worse people than the people who came before them, and maybe my generation doesn't have the same level of manners and things like that, and there is a definite issue with my generation's lack of taking personal responsibility for all their decisions and things like that. And I think that's really all important stuff. But I think a lot of the negative things that are happening today are just magnified by social media and the like. It seems that a vast majority of the interactions I have with people who are ignorant, bigoted, closed-minded, hateful, a vast majority of those interactions come with people who are above the age of 40 or 50. Today, Lily and I went and had dinner with my mom, and when we got done, Lily and I were walking through the parking lot to go to my car, and an older gentleman, I don't know how old he was, maybe 70s, maybe in his 60s or 70s, flagged me down. I was facing the passenger side of his vehicle. It was a nice SUV. He looked like, he was I don't want to say well-dressed, but he didn't look like a slob or anything. Looked like a respectable older guy, and he had a smile on his face, and he was wearing like a Vietnam vet's hat, and when he flagged me down, I thought, well, that's kind of odd, but whatever, maybe he needs help or something, I don't know, I'll help him. Seems like a nice enough guy or whatever, and he flagged me down. I walk up to the passenger side of his car where the window was down, and Lily and I are standing there, and he said, hey, have you ever been to Cabela's up at the Highlands, which is maybe half an hour from where we were? And I said, oh yeah, it's not that hard to get to. Do you need to know how to get there? And he said, why do lesbians buy their sporting goods at Cabela's? And I was like taken aback, like, what? He said, why do lesbians buy their sporting goods at Cabela's? I said, I heard you the first time, but you know, like I'm with my 11-year-old daughter. Like, what is going on? You know, he goes, it's because they don't like dicks. And I said, Jesus, dude, like, I'm with an 11-year-old girl. Don't you understand? He said, you know, because Dick's is a sporting goods store. I said, listen, I'm with my daughter, and you're looking like an asshole right now. He said, oh, I thought that was your wife when you walked out. Like, number one, okay, my daughter is tall, I guess, for her age. She's one of the tallest girls in her class, but she still looks 11. Number two, even if that was an adult woman with me, what part of any reasonable human being would think that joke was appropriate to tell? I mean, number one, to a stranger, but number two, to mixed company or whatever. I don't know if that's still a thing that people think about. I don't know. It wasn't even like we were having a conversation. Like, he flagged me down so that I had to, like, go out of the path I was in to walk over to his car so that he could try to tell me this joke. Like, it's like the kind of joke that I'm sure kills at his Legion Hall, where he just hangs out and drinks all the beer in the world. But to just flag down a total stranger just to tell him that joke because it's like you want to let them in on, like, the funniest joke of the century or something, I just don't get it. It's funny, we were walking away and I looked at Lily and I said, I'm really sorry about that. And she was completely oblivious to the whole thing because she was just completely in la la land while we were having this conversation. She didn't hear a word that we said. She had no idea that this guy was being a jerk or anything. She just assumed when this guy flagged me down that it must have been somebody I knew, so she just kind of zoned out and didn't pay attention. So I guess that part's good. You know, it just kind of like struck me as something that I don't think anyone from my generation has ever done to me. But I've probably had that happen at least 10 times over my lifetime, probably more than that, where a total stranger who's much older than me tells me a completely inappropriate joke. You know, it's not like they ever tell you a joke that's like good-natured or wholesome or any of that kind of stuff where you could actually, like, have a laugh with them and, like, you know, talk to them for a minute. It's always a joke that makes you cringe and then, like, want to get away from them. But it's always somebody who's much older. It seems like the older generations were much more comfortable just being that way outwardly. And because they were comfortable being that way, it made other people think that that was okay. And other people became comfortable being that way. Nowadays, I think even the people who are racist or homophobic or have negative thoughts against women or whatever, I think all of those people realize at this point that it's not widely accepted to outwardly display those beliefs. And because it's not okay to be so public about that and be so open about it, other people don't hear it, so they're less likely to think it's okay. And eventually it'll get to the point where, because people know it's not okay, they might change their mind about actually thinking that way or being that way, or their kids might not be exposed to that outward open bigotry, and eventually their kids don't feel that way, and then they raise kids that don't feel that way. My hope is that eventually, with time, these kinds of things, this closed-mindedness, this social bigotry, you know, the racism, all that stuff, it will all go away. It'll just die out with the older generations, and with each new generation, fewer and fewer people are raised to think that it's okay to be a certain way. I think that's a good thing. It's obviously going in the right direction. It's not perfect. Obviously, I wish there was a magic wand we could wave and make everything better today. You know, knowing that eventually things will get better doesn't help the people who are suffering today, the people who are being discriminated against today. But if nothing else, we can at least have hope for our children and our grandchildren and their children and children and children. You know, it's a hard thing to raise your kids and be mindful that they're going to eventually experience a person who will spew hate and ignorance, and to try to prepare them for that so that they can just ignore it or stand up for someone. You know, I've told our kids, you know, not only do you not treat other people negatively, but if you see someone being picked on, or if you see someone being ignorant or hateful, stand up against them. You know, I'm not saying you have to physically fight them, but you have to let people know that it's not okay. If people think that it's okay, then they'll continue to do it. If they think it's not okay, they'll be less likely. And if they think there's going to be a confrontation, if they act that way, they'll be much less likely to do that. Because a lot of people who have a lot of these negative thoughts and viewpoints and stuff, they're cowards. You know, they say things because it's easier to say something disparaging about somebody than it is to make the world a better place. And so if you confront them, a lot of times they'll back down and cower away because they didn't want to actually have a confrontation. They just wanted to say something ignorant and feel better about themselves because they think they're better than some other group of people. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of share that experience that I had today. Stay positive and just do the best you can to be the best person you can be, and hopefully it rubs off on people, and hopefully that positive, you know, energy kind of spreads, and that's all you can hope for. So peace.